Welcome back, sumo fans. Maria and John here again.
Hello.
We are coming off of one of the craziest boss show in a long time, and we were just discussing off mic what we think the possibilities for this boss show. So what do you want to say about that, John?
It's going to be a lot of sort of dust settling going on. The big Shodai promotion at Ozeki, sort of a lot of butting heads, a lot of proving, a lot of fighting going off. Obviously, a lot of fighting. So this tournament's going to be sort of a lot more things settling back in. There's going to be the potential for some like crazy chaos energy going on. And it's going to be more of the start into next year where things are going to start building up again, I think. But that's with a couple of exceptions we'll get into.
Agreed. Typically, this tournament would be in Fukuoka, I think, the November tournament, but because of coronavirus, it's in Tokyo. I think that does make a difference because there's an atmosphere feeling. And the crowd is increasing to 5,000 through the grapevine. So some wrestlers, that's really going to benefit. Some, it won't make any difference at all. But I would guess the majority are going to like the increased energy and the increased volume. So let's get right to it with the big guy himself, Hakuho. Hakuho's knee surgery is now complete, and he was doing quite a bit of throwing people around in training. Go to Chris Sumo if you want to hear the details. But it sounds like he looked like his old self.
I think Hakuho is going to come back with a point to prove. Did he win a tournament this year?
He did win a tournament.
One tournament. I think he's not going to let one tournament be his stake of 2020. Mm-hmm. And now that we got new Ozekis, we got all these people talking about the next generation. I think Hakuho is going to come back and he's going to remind people who's the greatest. And I think that's going to be at least his mentality going in.
Yes, I think exactly what you say. Mentally, he's going in to wreck everybody. He's going in to prove himself. And barring, his body falling apart, he's going to do that. He is the mentally toughest guy in sumo, has been for a long time. You cannot match it. So unless his leg falls off or something weird happens, you could easily see another tournament win for Hakuho.
Yeah, when you get to that age, and there's got to be more stuff going on than just his knees.
Yeah, because he's injured all over. So, you can't say, well, I have a little injury on my pinky. If he pulls out for that, there's something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
It does not seem pre-tournament Hakuho is having any of those issues right now. He cleaned up in the practice tournament at the Kokuki-Con. So, gotta watch out for him. Unlike his Yokozuna counterpart, Kakuryu, who this could be his last chance before they start talking his retirement.
His coach had mentioned Chris Sumo interviews, etc., etc. Chris Sumo the best. He's running out of extra lives, for lack of a better word, and Kakuryu really needs to make a showing of it. So it may be this tournament. I can see him sitting this one out and then making January his last stand. For better or worse, Kiseno Sato has sort of put a precedent that you can sit on this for as long as you want.
Yep.
Because Kiseno Sato was out for basically 2 years dealing with injuries on and off before he finally packed it in. So I interpret that as it is going to be difficult for the council or for anyone else to put significant performance pressure, particularly when you know that Hakuho is going to come back storming with a vengeance. I don't know if that's going to have the opposite effect. Maybe that will motivate Kakuryu to come back, but I think that he knows if he can't perform one more time, he may have to hang it up. And if that means he needs to sit out another one before he can give it his final go, then
yeah, I think that's what he's going to do because I don't think he's going to take the chance if he's not 100%, and I don't think he is 100%. I don't think he's going to take the chance that he puts up a poor showing in November and then has to show up again in January. I believe we will get Kyujo from Kakuryu for this November tournament, and he will come back in January. And I've got Kisano Sato feelings all over. I think January is going to be his last tournament. I know he doesn't want it to be, but I just don't see this miracle recovery coming from him.
It's really, we have to see what happens in January. Honestly, he can show up this tournament and just start throwing people around the ring.
Yeah.
It's
people haven't seen him in so long that, you know, you might get a little rusty fighting him. He was not at the practice tournaments. He's doing his own thing. He's got a really good training partner who we'll get to. So you never know, but I don't think it's looking too good for him. Moving on to our most senior of the Ozeki, which just seems like a strange statement to make because Takakeisho has not been an Ozeki for very long, and he's still only 24 years old, so kind of ironic. But Takakeisho was 12-3 in the last tournament, and he was focused, he was determined, he was pushing people around. I didn't see the tentativeness that cost him a couple of matches in previous tournaments. He's fighting with a newfound, like, I'm gonna crush you attitude. Even changed to the Black Mawashi to tell us he's serious. He seems to have the same exact mentality going in. He was at the practice tournament and he was throwing Shodai around. And, you know, Shodai was making comments like, I'm tired. And Takakeisho's like, this is the greatest thing ever. Go to Chris's videos. Once again, he's awesome. But the attitude is there, and the fitness seemed to be there in the last tournament. So barring the things that happened to Takakeisho, his knee going out and it's not expected, the weird thing going on with his arm, whatever that was, Takakeisho could really push this time. He could possibly get a title. I don't know if people realize this, but many tournaments he's been the runner-up. It's hard to see that because he has this runner-up tournament and then he has a horrible tournament. He's sort of doing the every other one tournament thing. But he's close, and it's been 2 years since he won a title, so this is really his time. If he's got the vigor and he's in shape, he's got to do it. This is the tournament, he's got to do it.
This tournament for me is going to be the tale of the three Ozeki. And Takakeisho is very much sort of the what you would expect from seeing an Ozeki. He's got the form, he's got the poise. He's still, I think I will never stop being concerned about his apparent fragility a little bit. He does seem to fade a little bit, but as you mentioned, he's been runner-up for a while, and just the way that the last tournament was so crazy, it's like any one little thing that went different in September and it could have been his cup. So he's right there. And I think he's in a good spot because he's got the upward momentum, but not everybody's going to be paying attention to him. And if he can just keep his focus on the sumo, if he can just continue the energy he had in September, we may see somebody who is at least another 12-3. Now, that being said, 12-3 is 3 losses out of 15-0, but let's see what Hakuho does. That's a different point entirely.
Yeah, I mean, Takakeisho has all the mental and verbal speaking points of the ideal sumo wrestler. He embodies the image of Japan, the idea of sumo, and also sort of the underdog part, because he doesn't have the perfect body for sumo. He has a lot of weaknesses that, you know, like just the short arms. Big stomach, short arms. He can't grab the belt. But he embodies that sumo spirit, so we'll see. We'll see what overcomes in the end. Which brings us to Asanoyama, who I'm constantly questioning his spirit. Maybe that's unfair, because all we get is sound bites from these guys, but Asanoyama did not go to the practice tournament. I can only speculate. I have no idea. This is my own personal thing. I could be totally wrong. I feel like he didn't want to show off whatever it is he was practicing, so he thought the best method for him was to train in secret. He's feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders because everybody wanted him to be the next Japanese Yokozuna. We've been down this path before. And Asanoyama seems a little fragile mentally. He's got all the physical talents, And, you know, it's taken him till 28 years old to actually get to this rank, and I think it's for a reason. Will his strategy pay off? Maybe it will. The element of surprise is very powerful.
Sanayama also seems like he's going to come into this with a chip on his shoulder a little bit. He's going to... He has this whole have a secret plan. Also, now that he's not the new hotness, now he's sort of losing that shine. Yep. I don't know if lower eyes are going to mean lower expectations, and maybe you can focus on his own sumo. I don't know if the pressure's sort of already in there, and he's going to just continue to just try to scramble things together, or maybe he's going to come back out and sort of just blossom into this sumo flower, or maybe he's just going to crash and burn entirely.
Yeah.
It is going to be interesting to see because, like we had mentioned, he was the golden child. He had the weight of the entire country on his shoulders. So now all of a sudden here comes Shodai just like prancing onto the dohyo. And is that
out of nowhere?
Is that going to fuel him? Is that going to spurn him? Is he going to come in there with something to prove? Or is all he going to want to do is match 10 and 5?
I have a hard time believing that he has that he likes that 10 and 5, that he likes being the mediocre Ozeki. I envision that he is the type of guy who's a perfectionist, who always was the golden child, who, you know, he was a college Yokozuna and all that stuff. And it's just a different world when you're in the real thing. And people aren't giving you all this praise. They're actually putting all this pressure on you. And I think he's going to be striving, but like you said, will that work against him? Which brings us to Shodai, and Shodai, I don't know, maybe it's my own impression of him. I don't actually know what the Japanese are saying, but here's my impression of Shodai, especially after hearing the comments on Chris Sumo's videos about... you know, how tired he was after the fights and everything. He was like, oh, this is good. But he was tired and he was kind of surprised. Shodai is just so chill that I wonder how he's going to do in this tournament. He had all this drive to get Ozeki and win the title, and now he's done it. Are we going to see him just sort of lay down in this tournament? I don't think it would be on purpose. I don't think he's somebody who just gives up like that. But where's the motivation now? Now he's achieved the pinnacle. This will be our first time seeing Shodai when he's got it all. And there's no external pressure. Does he actually feel the pressure of, I'm a new Ozeki, I need to prove something? Does he have Yokozuna aspirations? I don't get the vibe that he does.
I'm sort of looking at this from the opposite direction, in that he has a full lease on whatever he wants to do. Because everybody's looking at him. Now there's going to be all the expectations on him because now he's the new Ozeki. Everybody's just like, now you're Ozeki, now you can do your Yokozuna run. But towards your point, you know, he's the first Ozeki out of his region in like 100 years.
Yeah.
He's done all this stuff. Like, I sort of feel like I was along for the ride with him for so long. I'm like, Shodai, just get it together and you can make it all the way. And he did it. You're just like, oh,
wow,
he did it. He made it all the way. God, it's like, so I'm almost looking at it from the other direction. It's like, he made it almost for this tournament. So for Asanoyama, somewhat for Takakeso, definitely for Asanoyama, everybody was staring at him saying, you better show that you're worth the rank. For Shodai, it's not an expectation, it's a victory lap. Now this may turn around and bite him, and like you said, he may sort of fall flat and do, you know, right into Kataban. That being said, if Shodai sort of just takes this I did it, I'm here attitude, it may turn into something quite interesting, and it may just completely aggravate everybody else.
It's like, why is he so calm? Well, I mean, it's not that hard for him to get 8 wins in this tournament if he's just focused on, let me get my 8 wins. And if he puts no pressure on himself to win the tournament, no pressure to get to Yokozuna, he can just do his thing, get his 8 wins, you know, maybe it turns into more because he's not focused on those things.
it can go that way.
It can.
Or he could just crash horribly.
and be out in day 3. Oh, I got a broken pinky, you know? Because that's what you do once you become Ozeki. You just go out for whatever reason.
You just go out for whatever reason.
Which brings us now to me, Takayumi, Mr. Almost There.
Oh, man.
I don't have confidence that he's going to ever do it. And the reason is he's come so close, but it doesn't seem like he's actually been able to be consistent. So it's just too hard to become Ozeki. It's not that he's not talented. It's not that he couldn't fight Ozeki sumo. But to actually become an Ozeki is ridiculously hard. The fact that you have to restart if you don't get your Ozeki promotion after, those 3 tournaments.
Yeah.
It's kind of a system set up that, like, you have to be the top echelon of everything in the world or you're done for. How many more times can he do this run and fail to make it because of whatever reason? I think it's probably mental, because physically he seems like he's in good shape. How many more times can you do this before you actually push through versus just say, this isn't worth it?
He's got to feel the sting. This is the 3rd person to lap him now. There's got to be some fire in him. He has that fire in there. He shows the burn. But whenever I see him in Takayumi now, I just imagine those Sports Center Sunday highlight reels of golf where the guy's putting for the championship and the ball goes right up to the cup and it stops, and then you hear the crowd go, ah! And then the guy just sort of like leans back because he can't really have an outburst because it's golf. Like, that's Takayumi for me now. He comes so close and then he loses it.
And that is just, like I said, I know I personally wouldn't have the fortitude to keep going.
I think that's a really good point, in that at what point does just getting beaten down and losing it become just one hammer too much?
Right. And, he would need something fresh, some fresh motivation. I don't know if it's like a new guy coming into his stable or a life change. He needs something that just kicks him up the next notch because, like I said, becoming Ozeki is so ridiculously hard.
Mathematically, he's not out of it. He was 8-7 in September, which sort of removes him from the running entirely. But if he were to get a 15-0 or a 14-1 and then get the tournament, that might put him into a run. That might sort of kickstart it again, and they may go to him and say, do well enough in January and we'll give you the belt.
Right.
Now, that is pure speculation. Also, this tournament, with there being no expectations and a lot of people paying attention to the Ozekis, this is the kind of environment that Takayumi can thrive in. Right,
if the spotlight's off of him, that's when he seems to do a lot better.
Yes. So there is a potential for a Takayumi run, but it's hard to say if he's going to do well up until he gets double-digit wins and then start losing when everybody looks at him, or if he's just going to just pull the cart all the way across to the end.
Yeah. It's the big question mark pretty much every tournament. But, see, one of the reasons why I think they won't go easy on him is the next 2 wrestlers who very well will be chasing Ozeki dreams themselves at some point. Takanosho, who's now Sekiwake West. He's up from Maegashira 1 West. This is his Sanyaku debut. He went 10-5. He is in Takakeisho's stable, and they train together a lot. I think they are probably motivating each other. Takanosho wants to get higher. Takakeisho wants a strong competitor. I think they're quite the team, which is interesting in such a... It's an individual sport, but it still has that team aspect to it. Takanosho is young, and he's strong, and he's very motivated, so... He's got to, he's obviously going to have to do, it's at least 2 more tournaments of 10-5 or whatever before how many more tournaments before he could go on a run if he was 10-5, say?
I mean, theoretically, he may be on the run now. If anything, Takanosho, for him, this is going to be his start.
Yes.
So I don't know whether the 10-5 from Megashira 1 is going to count, but if he puts double-digit wins in his Sanyako debut, that's him saying, I'm here to stay.
Right.
The Sanyako debut almost always comes with a knockback down.
Yes.
And that's sort of one of the big things I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. He's somebody who we knew has had potential, has had the gumption, and now it seems that the talent is catching up. So for Takanosho, it's going to be, can you handle the weight of Sekiwake?
Right, and that's like you said, everybody's situation when they make their Sanyaku debut. You're going good, you're going good, you're going good, and then you hit Sanyaku and your opponents are much harder, and you get slammed all in the first 5 days, and the tournament's like, getting a double-digit score is over if you don't compete well in those first 5 days. So yeah, I mean, the first week is critically important for him. Will he rise to the challenge? And now you have Terunofuji, who I was not expecting him to go into Komusubi. No, maybe I was.
He was 1 East.
Okay.
And so if he had gotten another win or two, he would have gotten Sekiwake instead of Komusubi.
Yes. Gotcha.
Because he got 8 wins at Megashira 1, he sort of just
scraped in.
Just scraped himself in.
Which, for him, he had the injury at the end of the tournament. I don't know if that was the old injury, a new injury, just being cautious. I have a feeling it was caution.
Mm-hmm.
His knees are only going to hold up for so long, and he wants to make the best run he can make. So if you've already got your 8 wins, rest those knees, because he is eyeing Ozeki. And I think the trajectory for him, if he can stay healthy, is he's going to plow his way into Ozeki, and then the second there's any issue, he's going to retire.
Yeah, I think
then he can retire at that rank.
It seems to me that Terunofuji has a singular goal, and that's to be Ozeki again. And really, my condolences to everyone in his way.
Agreed.
And now what's going to be interesting is we have Hakuho, who I'm guessing would love to take that scalp again.
Oh, would love it.
And then we have all of the Ozekis, who have their own little stories to play out.
And they've all established some rivalries with him.
And this is going to be... Now, Terunofuji did have a piece to play in the September tournament, but now he's going to be fighting all of them.
Yep.
And...
Can your knees hold up? He's older now. He's not super old, but he's older. What's the endurance like? I mean, he hasn't been back in the upper division that long. It's been 2 tournaments.
2 tournaments.
So it's like, on one hand, it's amazing and it's awesome that he's just flown up the rankings charts. But here's the real test. Can you endure fighting the top guys in a full tournament? That's the test. If he can, and it doesn't take out all of his reserves, then he's going to make an Ozeki return, I'm sure. But if he struggles, he could get into Mitakeumi territory or even retirement, because he's tried to retire 5 times. He'll make his decision at some point, whether he can actually make Ozeki, and we're just going to have to keep an eye on him every tournament. So Takayasu, I misspoke, was the one I was shocked. Went up from Magashira 6 East to Komusubi 1 West. It's a surprise, but, he's fighting a lot better, and he's a former Ozeki, and maybe that gives you some extra clout when you're fighting well. Let's get you back into Sanyaku. I don't know what to think about it. I really don't. Because I never thought of Takayasu as that great of an Ozeki comparatively to Ozekis you'd hear about in the past. But he stayed in for a long time, and nobody challenged it for a long time. It was him and Goeido until Tochinoshin had his, great tournament. So I don't know what he's made of. I'm looking forward to finding out.
I think that this is... I'm not going to say Takayasu 2.0. There does seem to be a new spring in his step, and that he halted whatever mental collapse and likely physical collapse was going on that was causing him to tumble down, and now he's regathering himself back up. I am guessing that his previous Ozeki rank bumped him up a little bit more in the eyes of the commentators. Also, the fact that he fought all 15 days.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not I'm not in that, at least as far as I know. I mean, I do shout my opinions out into the cold darkness every once in a while, but I'm pretty sure nobody in Japan hears them or cares yet. And regardless, Takayasu is, I can only imagine getting a huge morale boost from being back in Sanyaku after this. And I don't know if he wants to get back to Ozeki. I don't know if that's in his mind. For Teruno Fuji, I have no doubt that's his goal. For Takayasu, now, when you're these wrestlers, there's nothing that you can see outside of that white belt for sure. That being said, there can be some tempered expectations. Maybe Takayasu is just taking this one tournament at a time. Very promising, and like you, I'd love to see what he does.
Yeah, there's the goal, and then there's the goals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, everybody wants to be Yokozuna, but what's the real goal, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you don't approach that until you're, like, one win away from a tournament as Ozeki, you know, something like that. So, yeah, what are his goals? And I wonder, was he surprised at his Sanyaku return?
Maybe.
If he was surprised, like, does that change things as well?
Maybe.
You know? Does that give you, like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I'm going to do all kinds of stuff. I'd love to be a fly in the wall in the room when he found that out. So, moving down now to Maegashira 1 East is Kiribayama. Now, Kiribayama is in Kakuryu's stable. He's pretty much his Enho to Hakuho situation. Kiribayama has not been training with Kakuryu as far as I know, because Kakuryu is not training, you know, he's not having practice bouts yet. But he is the future of that stable. He is the future of Kakuryu's career, I believe. If Kakuryu, I assume he will choose to stay in Japan. I think his whole family is here. His wife and his kids, I believe, are Japanese. Kiribayama's the future. So he's going to have an investment on what goes on with him. That's pretty exciting because Kiribayama's a great fighter. He's tough. He's got a busted arm. He can barely fight with it, and he still wins the match. So there's something very exciting about him, and there's something very cool that he gets to have Kakuryu's knowledge. Not everybody's going to have that. That's such an advantage. You know, when you look at the Enho Hakuho situation, he gets all of Hakuho's knowledge, but he's still the small guy. Kiribayama, he could hang in there with anybody. He's strong. You know, he's got a sleeker body, but you don't push him around. You just don't.
You don't. Kiribayama's resolve in the last tournament spoke volumes about his future. The fact that he sort of bucked the trend of the person who comes back with the injury and then does well. And him lifting up sumo wrestlers with a busted shoulder. And for me, all of that said, Kiribayama's here to stay.
Yeah.
He's also part of the next crop coming up, per se. And I think we will be watching his slow rise to glory. And there is a bit of a knock because you could argue maybe he should have gotten that Kamasubi 1 West instead. That being said, I don't think Kiribayama needs it.
No, he'll get there on his own.
He gets there on his... So this is also sort of the flip side to it, is that if this was reversed and Takayasu was 1 East, instead, would that have messed with Takayasu a lot more?
Probably.
Now, this is way weird.
Speculation.
Oh my goodness, this is Speculation County. I had to get my passport out on the way here.
Armchair quarterback.
Oh yeah. So, but anyway, I think that he's going to be the Kakuryu of the next generation. I agree with that. And he's in a position to prove it, honestly.
Yeah, and it might give him some added incentive to say, hey, I didn't get that Komusubi spot. Let me show you how wrong you were. And he gets a little bit of extra time. You know, it's not the worst thing to not go straight into Sanyaku. It's not the worst thing. Take a little bit more time, fight some more matches, get some more in in your brain, in your playbook. So, yeah, I don't think it might have been a slight, but I don't think it's going to hurt him at all, just like you said. So our next guy is Wakataka Kage, my favorite name in the tournament. That will never change, no matter who comes up. He is Maegashira 1 West, up from Maegashira 8 West, 11-4.
He did good. But guess what? You're Megashira 1, baby!
Oh, welcome to the big leagues, buddy.
Yeah, this is where he figures out how Hakuho got his rank and starts eating dirt. And
he's going to eat a lot of dirt.
This is what you do. You have your helping of clay, and you go back down a little bit, but then you know what it's like for next time. I would like to be wrong. I'd like to see Wakataka Kage get 8 and 7. At the same time, I'm just sort of, I'm doing that. You're watching a video of a skater go into a wall, and you're just like, oh, it's gonna hit it. He's gonna hit it. He's gonna hit it. We'll see.
Yeah. There's just too many tough guys with things to prove and egos for, miles that I think he's gonna struggle.
Yeah. To be fair, he did earn his place here.
Absolutely.
I think he's going to earn the whooping he's coming his way to.
But it's like a rite of passage.
It is. It very much is.
He'll take his whooping and be proud of it, I guess. Be like, oh, I made it. So our next guy is Onosho, and we talked a lot about him in the last tournament. Oh, no show.
Mm-hmm.
So he's up to Maegashira 2 East from Maegashira 9 West. It sounds like he made some tweaks and some changes in his practice and his sumo style. I still don't know about him. I need to see him in a second tournament. He is, he won the Hakuho Cup when he was a young kid. He was like the rising star. He came in the same time as Takakeisho. He was supposed to be the big something. He's still only 24 years old. Maybe he's 25 now. He's still got time, but I'm waiting for it. I hope last tournament was it. And now we're going to see 10 and 5 again. He's experienced enough. He's not Wakataka Kage, who's just got in. He's experienced enough. They should know how to fight these guys. It's going to be, did the tweaks make a difference, or was last tournament just, I'm going to show you because I went,
2 and 13.
2 and 13. Right. Was it just an artificial, you can't go any lower result? Or is this the start of something? And if it's the start of something, now you're jumping in with the whole band, the whole list. Everybody's fighting and clawing for these few remaining spots, which we haven't had in years.
Yeah, this is Onosho. He's got the swagger. He's definitely getting the momentum back. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And the fact that everybody on the top of this list, they can't all do well.
No.
So when you look at those top 5, you're like, who's going to perform? Now, the thing about Onosho is he hungry enough? We know he can do it.
Yeah. We don't know if he's hungry.
We don't know. Again, I kind of feel bad for ragging on Wakataka Kage, even though I know it's going to happen. I want to be wrong, but I'm not going to be. But with Onosho, I don't know.
We don't know what
can go. He could be 10 and 5. He could be 5 and 10. He could be 2 and 13. He could be 13 and 2.
He's got some footwork stuff to work on. I think that was part of the new style is, I know these guys know it, but I don't know if it's always noticeable, in this split second when you have to do this fight. Your footwork is so, so important, especially Onosho, who's doing the fast and furious slaps. If you're off balance, they're just going to toss you aside. And you're going to lose bouts that you could have won power-wise because you weren't planted firmly. And I haven't seen enough consistency for him to see, was he a flash in the pan and he's just always going to have footwork issues. The next guy is Daisho, who we had such high hopes for him in the last tournament. He's down to Maegashira 2 West from Sekiwaki. The thing about Daisho is this might be where he's at, where he's got a lot of potential, but he doesn't have the consistency. It seems to be a thing with pusher thrusters. It's a hard thing to be a pusher thruster because you're in matches all the time doing sort of the same kind of move and everybody knows you're going to do the same kind of move. So you can be as intense as he is. He's an intense fighter. It's a dogfight with him. But if they've read your moves, if you're not quick enough, if you're not perfect, you wind up with a 5 and 10.
5 and 10. So, to be fair, this was his early Sanyaku appearance. I think they gave him the Sekiwaki 2 just to give it. Whenever you get a second, whenever you give the Sekiwaki 2, it's like bad news. It's like
it never works out.
Never pox. So I'm still holding out hope for Daisho for the future. This feels like it's just as much part of the process, and no problems, no issues.
No, it's got to work.
It's just got to work. And I am going to keep my eye on him. It'll be good stuff, though. I don't think this is him out. I think this is just a bump in the road. The future of him and Takakeisho, Day 15 Yokozuna fights.
Oh, yeah.
Still a possibility. I'm still...
Would love it.
Wish upon a star.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with him. Like you said, he doesn't necessarily need anything different. It's just, it's hard. Mm-hmm. Sumo's a hard sport. It's very competitive. There's a lot of tough guys in there, and sometimes them's the breaks. So we'll see what he can do. We'll see what he's got in him. The next guy is Kageyaki, who jumped up from Maegashira 6 West to Maegashira 3 East. Kageyaki, he doesn't give me much to comment on. I mean, he's got some guy's number, especially Enho. He reads Enho like a book. You can see the wheels turning in Kageyaki's head. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe he's so planned and less spontaneous in his fighting. I'm not sure, but I haven't seen a huge range from him in terms of what he can do. It's not that he can't do multiple techniques. It's just, rank-wise and score-wise, there doesn't seem to be a lot of versatility there. And I'm not sure why.
It was interesting that he got 3 ranks off in 8 and 7. That has more to do with how volatile last tournament was, I think.
Yes.
That he was one of the few people in that bracket to get a winning score, so we got a little bit of a bump up. I think he's been here before, though, and he's been knocked back down when he gets up here. We'll see if that changes now. He does have a size advantage over some of the other people.
He's very tall.
He's a big boy. Sort of, again, looking at him, looking at Wakataka Kage, looking at Hokuto Fuji, unfortunately, and I'm like, look, somebody's got to lose these tournaments.
Yeah.
With Kageyaki, he's got the potential. We'll see if he can make some moves. Because now, this is something that's nice about this rank for him. He's a good tournament away from Sanyaku.
He is.
I mean, all these people are.
Right, and being Maegashira 3 East, you're not going to fight the top guy. You're going to fight top guys, but you're not going to fight the top guys. He could easily get a boost back up into Sanyaku if things go weird for everybody else, or Maegashira 1. I could see it happening. It is a good rank for him. But we'll see, who shows up that day.
Yep.
And you always have the, are we injured scenario. So next is Okinomi, down from Komasumi 1 East. Can't say I'm surprised. It's not any bit of a knock on him. It's just he's an older guy with a whole crop of young, aggressive fighters coming up. And like you said, somebody's got to lose. Especially in those... It's so competitive right now in the Sanyaku. It was inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think it reflects on him in terms of him being a poor wrestler. I just think he got out-wrestled. He might be able to tool around in this, Maegashira 3, maybe between 1 and 3. Maybe he'll get knocked down a little. I don't expect him to get crushed. I just think he was in a bad place at the wrong time. And
September was a hell of a place to be. I put him along with somebody like Takara Fuji, and that they definitely can prove their worth into getting into Sanyaku, but they'll have a little bit of a harder time holding it when everybody else around them is so young and so hungry. I can see him doing well at 3 West just fine. I can also see all 3 of these Ozeki having a point to prove.
And just destroying everybody.
And just tearing the place in half. I feel there's a weird energy. So every time I'm looking at somebody, I'm like, you're going to get knocked down. In the back of my mind, you're just like, 15-0.
I think that's what it is. I think anytime Hakuho's back and you hear that he's fighting well, you just kind of assume everybody's just going to die, you know? Because he comes in and he crushes everybody and it gets in their heads. And then you go to fight the Ozeki and they're all tough and aggressive. And Hakuho changes the energy of any tournament he's in. So if he is competitive at all, some of these guys are going to get killed. So, you know, I think maybe it's safe to be in the Maegashira right now. And maybe it's really not safe to be in the upper ranks. I don't know. Next is your guy, Hokuto Fuji. He is down from Maegashira 2 East to Maegashira 4 East. Not too far. He tends to do the roller coaster thing. I could see him getting an 8 and 7 at this
Maybe.
point. Unless he's really hurt, or like I said, Hakuho just destroys and demoralizes everyone, and he's going to be the 2 and 13 victim. You never know which Hokuto Fuji's going to show up. You know he's going to, like, bring everything he's got. But will it be enough? It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. I'm slowly coming to grips with this is just where Hokuto Fuji's going to be until he does something. And it's a great place to be. I think that he may have another Sanyaku run in him if he can get some stuff together, but he's gotta get a little bit of something else.
A little bit of zip, a little bit of pep in his step.
Yep. Maybe he'll bring it. Maybe he'll 8 and 7. Maybe he will take a trip to Middle Maegashira and just have a really nice January.
Yeah, just chill, you know, maybe heal up a little bit in that middle.
Maybe a little bit.
The next is somebody who we're probably going to be talking about for a long time, and that's Tobizaru. He, you know, was a third runner-up, I believe, with 11 and 4 for the tournament. He made it real close, you know, down to the second to last day. He very easily could have been a tournament winner. But he is somebody who's been in Juryo for a long time, and he's got the same thing going where here he's been in Juryo forever, comes in on his first tournament, almost wins the title. Well, now what do you really have? The proof is in how long you can endure. So was this just like excited energy coming into the tournament, or does he got some stuff that he's going to be right in there with all these other guys fighting for these spots? Personally, I would love to see that because he's got personality to spare. Facial expressions, very open about how he feels about things, fun, exciting. I hope he can do it.
Yeah, it's that similar, there seems to be this weird trend of people in the lower ranks just vaulting up. This is the first time I've seen him was in September. So I don't know what to think. He did all of his fancy jumping monkey stuff, and I thought he was going to run away with it for a couple days, and then Shodai just smiled his way to the cup and did a great job of it. So it's going to be, what's also going to be interesting is if he can make some waves and do the stuff that he did down in 14 up here, then maybe he's got himself a nice fast track.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting to see who he's matched up with.
Yeah.
Those matchups are going to matter a lot. I could just picture, you know, if he's in the tournament running, which I think will be hard this time, but let's just say he's in the tournament running again. Him and Hakuho, oh boy, would I love to see him and Hakuho. Because Hakuho's going to be like, I'll show you something. And then Tobizaru's going to be like, bring it on, buddy.
You have the best chance of beating Hakuho if you've never fought him before.
Exactly.
I'm just going to put that one out there.
Because he doesn't know what to expect from you. And Tobizaru is not afraid. He goes right at those big guys. That's why he went 11 and 4.
If we were going to see the Hakuho pucker face one last time, and we get it from Tobizaru's debut fight against him, getting the Kinboshi off of Hakuho off his first
dreams.
Tell me that wouldn't be. And then he's going to fight him early.
Yes.
So Hakuho loses one out in like day 3 to Tobizaru.
Changes the whole...
Tell me how that's going to be a fun pile of everything that we like about sumo.
Oh.
Not going to happen, but just saying.
Dream, you know.
Just this is the tournament for weird stuff.
It's going to be a weird tournament. They call March the Story Basho, but this year it's going to be November. Something very strange is in the air, and things are just not going to be as they seem. I can say that. So next we go to Myogiru, who's Maegashira 5 East, down for Maegashira 3 East. 6 and 9, you know, I think he's a candidate for dropping a little lower, raising a little higher. I don't see a major jump from him. I don't see a major decline from him. I think he's going to stay pretty stable. He's getting up there. I don't know what his long-term plans are, but I think he'll stick around for a while if he can maintain sort of this 1 to 5, 5 to 7 range. He's not in any danger of getting demoted or anything.
He's going to be a good test for a lot of these new up-and-comers. So we have Tobizero, we have Wakataka Kage, we have Tokushoryu, Tsuruchiyoshi, a few people that haven't been here for that long, and you need to win the matches against people like Myogiru. But Myogiru ain't no quitting man.
No, and he's got a whole bag of tricks because he's been doing this a long time, and he trains with Yokozunas, and it's like, he's going to want to say, you know, you little punk. Mm-hmm. And he's from Saitama Sakai, so he's got that whole thing. Mm-hmm. He's got to, you know, do his high school proud, so.
Yeah, I'm looking at Myogiru. I guess the combat sports term is gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And that he's real good. He'll make another turn at Sanyaku. But it seems he's still got a bit of gas in the tank. There's a bit of spark left in him.
And maybe it's fun for him, you know, to see all these new guys and want to be the gatekeeper. So the next guy is Koto Shoho, up from Maegashira 12 East. He's another one of the young up-and-comers. 10 and 5 last tournament, very well could see himself being in the Kiribayama category, Takanosho category. He's there, he's hungry, he's got the skills in the youth, but I haven't seen enough to really, I don't know, there's just so many guys. Is he going to be the one that leapfrogs everybody?
Of note is that he was 10 and 5, he went up from 12 to 5. Yeah. So, in one way, this is a great opportunity for him to start fighting some Sanyaku. On the other hand, I can't help but feel that maybe he wanted Maegashira 8 a little bit more. That being said, he's got some real strong techniques. There's not a lot of these new up-and-comers who have these high technique things. The ones that do, like Kiribayama, and to an extent, Wakataka Kage, a lot of those people, when they have that bag of tricks, they don't ping-pong as much.
Right.
Because they've got those fundamentals, they can do the belt, they can do the push. It's going to be interesting to see what Koto Shoho does this high up.
Yeah, he's either going to flourish or he's going to eat dirt, just like Wakataka Kage.
I really hope he does so well and just makes me eat the dirt instead of him.
Our next guy is Takada Fuji, who he's down 1 rank. He's 7 and 8. He's the stable. He's another gatekeeper. Yeah. He had a little bit of fire in the belly because of what Teruno Fuji did. But I don't see any meteoric rise. I think Takada Fuji's just going to hang out in that middle until he's done. He's going to teach some people some things. He is a Yokozuna training partner, which means when they do these trainings, he gets called up by the Yokozunas a lot. So he obviously has like solid skills and, you know, footing and things like that make him interesting to, you know, spar with, but I don't know, he's middle management.
Of note is that while he was 7 and 8, really in terms of how well he was fighting, it was not a losing tournament in September.
It shouldn't have been, yeah.
He did really well for someone who was 7 and 8. And I think he's part of that old guard that just got reinvigorated when Teruno Fuji just tore it up and says, we can do it too. I don't know what that's going to translate to, but I do feel like there's more to the Takada Fuji story that just didn't get out because September was such a slobber knocker. Right. So I'm going to keep an eye on him. I'm not this isn't like a Daisho level hope from last time for me that it's just going to get dashed into the rocks if it doesn't plan out. But I have a feeling there's going to be a couple people that we're sleeping on. I'm going to not hit the snooze button on him.
Fair enough. The next is Tamawashi, Maegashira 6 West. He is down for Maegashira 2 West. Something was very strange about him last tournament. He's usually Mr. Stable, and he was just off. Just, there wasn't enough oomph. You know, he's going for his Nodowa, the chokehold thing, and it just didn't have enough power to push people out, which is not like him. I don't know if there was a mental thing, if maybe he was a little sick or something, or, you know, maybe it was just an off tournament, but he didn't seem like himself.
I'm going to go with off tournament for him. Maybe he was injured. And I know definitely one big thing that Tamawashi is holding on to is his consecutive fight streak. He's in the 4 digits. He's sort of like Ikioi, and that nothing's going to stop him from fighting except the cold stillness of death. And so to have people basically beating him at his own game tells me that there was something going on. And maybe something going on is that his time has come. Or something going on is that he was injured, like they always are. I think he's going to prove whether or not he's slipping, or if he just had a hiccup, by how well he does here. And at 6 West, it's high enough that he needs to perform, but not so high enough so that Hakuho is going to throw him halfway across the room.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be interesting because when he's on, he can do some things, you know, to upset. He's an upsetter, you know? So this is, like, put a big star check mark next to him. Like, what are you going to do? Because I have no idea. And I'm very curious.
Keep an eye.
The next is everybody's favorite Tochinoshin. He's at Maegashira 7 East, down from Maegashira 4 West. I was pretty disappointed in the Henkas and stuff, and I'll tell you why. I understand he's fighting with just one knee, and he's not even fighting with one. They're both shot. And I know that his time is coming, and I want him to stay more than anything. But he's got the strong man appeal. So when you do Henkas, especially back-to-back days against the toughest guys, you chip away at your legacy. And then you gotta ask yourself, what's the point? You know, I almost think it'd be better to get blasted out because you went full in than to try to play tricks just keep the numbers on the score. I'd have to know his motivation to know why he's doing that. Like, if it's, I gotta stay in X amount of years to get my retirement, I could get that. But it doesn't jive with the Tochinoshin who was lifting people out. It just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. I don't want to remember him pulling Henkas that, you know, mess with the tournament. You know, because obviously Taka Keisho, when he lost that was the difference between maybe tying and maybe winning the tournament. And the reality is Taka Keisho took him at face value, as you would expect to take someone at face value. Shame on him, but Tochinoshin set the precedent that he's a face-to-face guy, that he's a tough guy. If you can't do that anymore, like, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't want to tell a guy what to do with his career. But it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I know it did for other fans. And I wish he would knock it off. Like, either just get blasted out or don't continue doing this. I don't know. It is going to hurt your reputation. And I think that's a shame.
It is. When I look at Tochinoshin, every time I see him in the tournament, I think two things. And it is, yay, he's still in the upper ranks. We get to see him again. And then it's like, he hasn't retired yet. And it's a tear. And stuff like the Henkas, stuff like seeing him try desperately to do his old sumo and then just get floundered around. It's a weird mix of feelings. It was really good to see Kiribayama out Tochinoshin as a sort of this passing of the guard thing. I think it was more of an unintended happening. I'm going to take my victories where I can get them.
Yeah.
The more time passes, the more that Ozeki Tochinoshin is just not with us anymore. And we just have to enjoy what he can do. And I think that maybe he will bury his reputation a little bit, but let me tell you what, if Tochinoshin's never going to Henka Taka Keisho again, which means he's never going to win against Takakeisho again, and that's what's going to happen to him, is that he's just going to fall by himself if he keeps relying on these desperate attacks.
I mean, he does have some extra bags of tricks. I mean, I've seen him pull a throw. I've seen him do other things. Like, just that's what Hakuho's been able to do. That's why Hakuho is so successful. He is not as strong as he used to be. He does not have the ability to just blast you out by looking at you. Doesn't matter. He'll come up with a different way to beat you. Tochinoshin could adopt that. I just think there's a lack of confidence. Now that he can't do strongman sumo, he's not, I don't want to say willing, but he doesn't have the confidence to try other things. I think he could. I think he could beat Takakeisho by grabbing his belt again. I don't know. I think it would be hard. Takakeisho's really strong now, but...
It's balls in his court, towards your point. I'll always get a smile when I see that hairy chest.
Yes.
It won't come with him picking up a 400-pound person like a child, but I think he's earned a little bit of a black mark here and there. Maybe.
Fair enough. I mean, that's fair enough. I like him no matter what. There's probably nothing he can do to make me forget how great that Ozeki run was. The tournament win. I mean... Just those are some of my favorite memories of sumo. And I think he's a great guy, too. Just by some interviews I've seen in Georgia, he seems like a real cool guy. Fiery, but sensitive at the same time. So nothing's going to make me not like him. I just really want him to go out, like, just Tochinoshin. And maybe that's just unrealistic.
Oh, well, maybe we'll get Enho and we'll throw him across the ring.
Enho, get in here. Right?
Enho, come here. You're still slipping, right?
Yeah. Come on, get in here and make this guy feel good, right? So here we get to Endo, down from Komusumi 1 West to Maegashira 7 West. This was not a good tournament, even though it started off with him, these amazing wins in the beginning. This is the Endo we know. I don't know I'll say this every time, I don't know what goes on in the man's head. He doesn't even give an interview. He gets on there, he's like, did my brand of sumo. I'm very happy. I'm going to leave now. Okay. So, I don't know. He comes across, but I must preface this again, I am American, and I speak English, so I don't speak Japanese, and I don't understand the subtleties or the context. But from my outsider observance, it just seems like he's sort of like, meh, I don't care. He just doesn't seem to have the fire, and that could just be his personality. Maybe he has a subdued personality, but he doesn't show anything that makes me think he wants it.
It's doubly frustrating this tournament because he went from like the Yokozuna Endo outfoxing like crazy well, and then the next match he falls on his face after 3 seconds.
Right, like he trips on his own toe.
Trips on his own toe. Here was Asanayama here to prove his point, and he gets out-belted.
Which was beautiful.
Which was great, and you're like, why can't you do that? And so he did go out with an injury, or he says an injury. I'm willing to give him some benefit of the doubt, but it's still Endo. It's just like, how much of that was the injury, and how much of that was the ancient spirits of Yokozuna's past manifested within your body and then left in the coming sunrise.
It would seem. It would seem something of that bizarre nature. He's like one of the most popular guys in sumo. Particularly the ladies love him. He gets a lot of money and a lot of sponsorships for being at whatever level he's at. It makes me wonder, is that enough for him? But, like I said, I have no idea. I throw these speculations out. I have no window into the mind of Endo, and someday, hopefully he'll show us something that gives us a clue.
Or you'll install the window.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Next is your boy, Aoyama. He dropped just 1 rank, Maegashira 8 East, 7 and 8. I'm going to let you take this one because, I believe he's going to kind of stay in this middle management thing as well, but he's one of your favorites, so...
Seems to be I'm really good at picking pusher thrusters who are losing lately.
It's your fault.
It's my fault. I'm sorry. I got to go after some belt people. Okay. So, honestly, that's pretty much the long and short of it. He's just going to be doing his angry face push you out of the ring thing until somebody stops him. And he did seem a little injured and hobbled together. There was some tentative leg things going on. I just like seeing him.
Yeah,
it's a very simple pleasure, the Aoyama. It's not complicated.
No.
He will do a very obvious henka, or he's gonna try to slap you in the face until you fall over. And that's all I need.
Yeah, he does seem to be perpetually injured, as many are, but his are visible. So you never know if you're going to get like a slightly less injured. But I agree with you. It's always nice just to see him in the tournament. You know, he's the character that you need to feel complete.
Yes.
It's like if he's not there, it's like, oh, this isn't the same. The next guy, I want to get on him a little bit, even though I like him, is Terutsuyoshi, down from Maegashira 3 West to Maegashira 8 West. The cockiness in that guy, I mean, these are Japanese wrestlers, okay? So they don't strut their stuff like American athletes. And I can see strut all over him. So for him to show it, it's just like, wow, this guy, I don't know. The move he pulled on Takakeisho trying to intimidate him was really, really gutsy. But it was half-hearted in a way, like, you gotta be able to back it up, man. And it really stinks when you, like, go after a guy like that and he just swats you like a fly. And that ended up being, like, the story for the rest of the tournament. It's like, oh, you want to be annoying, huh? Well, now I'm gonna hurt you. So I hope he can get a little stronger and back that up, because he has the potential, actually, to be a double-digit winner.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the strength, he's got the power, he's got some moves. You gotta get a little of that attitude in check, because I think, you know, he's a very entertainer sumo wrestler. He's going for the reactions, no question about it. The salt throws, all of it. Maybe if he reined it in a little bit and, you know, showed off by beating people. Because I thought it was a little embarrassing for him to get slapped around like that when he, you know, produced so much flair.
Yeah. So, in Terutsuyossi's defense, he was at Maegashira 3 West before, which is the similar position that Wakataka Kage is in now, which is, welcome to the meat grinder, buddy. You're gonna eat some dirt. So, Terutsuyoshi ate some dirt. He just had the weird thing of asking Takakeisho to pour it into his mouth for him. So, do you fault Terutsuyoshi for playing the same game he did that got him here? Maybe. Now, I think maybe it would certainly be a better story if he, you know, ran face first into Takakeisho's chest and then tripped him up the next time, or did some other fancy thing. He does have the potential for it. I see the 5 and 10 more of a rite of passage versus any sort of concern. That being said, now that he's got a taste of it, now he needs to learn how to deal with it, which is going to be his next challenge. Again, this is all just part of the growth.
Yes. Now, when I get on him about his personality stuff, I actually don't want him to change that.
No, I get how you're saying that. Maybe if you're going up against an Ozeki, you reel it in.
Yeah, time and a place kind of thing, or get stronger. If you're going to be cocky, be the toughest. Like, Hakuho, he's so, you know, polarizing, because it's like, he's got that attitude, he's doing the pursed lips, he's doing the swagger, but he can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I appreciate. My big note to him is, if you're going to pull that with an Ozeki, win the fight.
Don't be Trunks, be Vegeta.
That's right. That's right. Rage out. Don't back off at the last minute. Like, go for it. Don't get in there and fight and then back way off. Like, commit. Commit to that personality. I want to see you come down with the leather jacket someday, okay?
I'm waiting.
But win with that attitude. Okay, next is Tokushoryu. Down from Maegashira 8 East to Maegashira 9 East. 7 and 8. Very respectable. He's doing his thing. His sumo's still there. Nobody expected him to win back-to-back tournaments or anything else. I think he's just having fun and doing what he can do.
Yeah. Of note is, in January, he got the win he got pole vaulted up, sort of like how Tobizaru and Terunofuji did, but he didn't have that. He didn't have the Terunofuji, I've been here before. He had the what the hell am I doing here? So this is the closest he's gotten to Kachikoshi since then.
True.
So this is probably where his natural skill level is, around mid Megashira. And he just had a little bit of a tour de force on the way to where he should be. I'm going to expect him to flip it up and start to win from here on in.
Okay.
Because he was like 2-3, and then he had double digit losses, and then he's just been Makakoshiing all the way down. Now he's 7-8. He had some good moments in September. So here's where he's 8-7, I think. I think this is where he lives. Or if he does lose again, it would be a similar 7-8, 6-9. So it looks like he can live here. I think this is
comfortable.
This is his home. And then if he gets that second wind, if he gets a drink of that power water from Terunofuji, maybe we can mount an assault from here.
Right. Absolutely. The next guy we have is Koto Eko, Maegashira 9 West, up from Maegashira 10 West, 8-7. I had this guy pegged to be in it and do something.
I know.
And that might have just been my own like of him. I really like him. He's got the Shodai thing going where it's like he's kind of like a farmer, simple guy. Seems kind of like friendly, and he's jacked. And you're just like, whoa, like you should be able to do some things. And he was sort of lackluster. I don't know if that's what we can expect from him. I don't think so. But I was really surprised, and now I'm sort of taking a step back. Like, let me reassess. I still like him, but let me reassess what I think his potential is. And cautiously watch this tournament. Not making a guess either way.
His momentum is certainly slowed, and the way he was fighting lower down, it did look like he was going to be the new hotness, and he had the unique look and feel that he was going to be something special. Still think he's going to be there. This is going to be like a bet line tournament for him, because if he can get a winning score, even if it's just another 8-7, that proves that he's still getting better, even though not as much as he was before. If he Makakoshis a little bit, maybe he still needs a little bit more je ne sais quoi. Or maybe he just needs to get more jacked because he wasn't nearly as jacked in September.
Yeah, and to your point, you don't have to rise meteorically. A lot of these guys are like going way high and way low. There's nothing wrong with being the guy who just goes up rank by rank by rank, because every tournament you learn something, you get a little bit more skill. If you're not like fighting the hardest matches of your life, then maybe you're getting stronger through this. And maybe taking your time is not the worst thing, and maybe that's where he's at. I mean, it'd be nice to look at some of these guys and see where they progress as time goes on, because you're going to have these guys who rise to the top and burn out.
Yep.
And then you're going to have the guys of the world who are Hakuhos and they never leave. So, where he'll be, there's still a future. We'll see. The next guy is Ryuden, Maegashira 10 East, down from Maegashira 7 East. He really hasn't been the same for a long time. I don't know if it's the Shobushi's death had an impact. He's one of those guys who got knocked all the way down and with an injury, rose all the way back up, had these great tournaments, and now he's starting to show some of the tumble, some of the fall. I don't feel a lot from him that's positive, so I don't know if I feel like he's going to keep tumbling. I'd love to see that not be the case, but something's just not there.
He's been losing multiple times in a row, where with somebody like Tokushoryu, who's sort of just a fish out of water, with Ryuden, he's definitely showing a loss in ability. So the hope is sort of a Koto Shogiku. Hopefully you get low enough down that you can start winning again, and hopefully just buy time for you to regather yourself. It's like, come on!
Just
God,
you could do it.
You could do it. We believe in you. Take our spirits or something. I don't know. But the good news is that even if he has a terrible outing, he's still going to be in the top rank this next tournament. It's just a matter of whether he can stop the bleeding.
Yeah, and everything resets in January. I mean, that's definitely the case everywhere where a new year means something new. But in Japan, the whole culture is centered around the new year. So for some of these guys, maybe this is a throwaway tournament. You do the best you can. For some guys, this is the last one of the year, I gotta win. So, if I see Ryuden as somebody who, if this doesn't go his way, maybe January gives him a new spark. Maybe he just needs to end 2020, like so many need to, and start over again in 2021. What could I say?
Call it a year.
Call it a year. Go back to bed. The next guy is Meisei, Maegashira 10 West. He's up from Maegashira 13 East, 9-6. Meisei was one of my guys. I actually thought he'd be in it. I'm not counting him out yet. There was a lot of guys, a lot of drama, a lot of craziness. He still got a 9-6. He might be the steady guy I was talking about, where he just rises slowly and you don't know he's coming. And while everybody else is flip-flopping and roller coastering, steady wins the race. And all of a sudden, oh, look at Meisei. He's Komusubi 1 East. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to get there. I really do. I think he's got a lot of talent, and we're going to be seeing more of him.
Yep, he's back from Juryo. He has that strong statement in Juryo. No, that's 2 tournaments back, so not as relevant now, but he's going to get his footing back in the upper ranks. He's going to push forward, and hopefully he'll reach the point that he'll be back where he should have been.
Mm-hmm. Sadano Umi. He's Maegashira 11 East, down from Maegashira 10 East. 7-8. He moves down 1 rank. Yet he was close. I think this is sort of a comfortable rank for him. This, 10 to 14. He's a veteran. He trains a lot, and I think it comes down to there just being a lot of fish in the sea, and he's got to battle through a lot to stay where he's at.
Maybe him and Tokushoyo could be drinking buddies.
Hey, maybe they already are.
Maybe they already are. Yeah, because this is in the same way that I think Tokushoyo is just going to live in this area. I feel like the same can be said for Sadano Umi, that this is his habitat. Him and Aoyama and the 3, that they'll just
go out and hang out.
Yeah, they just can't go into elevators because they'll just break the weight limit. But
exactly. They can go on the beach and take more pictures for the sumo calendar.
There we go.
Just have a good time, buddy. The next is Mr. Enho, Maegashira 11 West, down from Maegashira 9 East. He just keeps falling and falling and falling. And I hate to say this, but I think what we saw, his top stuff, that's the best you're going to get from him. It's not because he isn't talented. It's not because he isn't working harder than anyone else. It's just, there's a new wave of wrestlers right now, and they don't look like Tokushoryu. They look like Wakataka Kage and Kiribayama. They're bigger than him, but they're not super heavy guys that can't be speedy. They're stronger and speedy, and there's so many of them that I don't think Enho has a chance. I really don't.
Enho really had a great 1 week of sumo in September. If it was a 7-day tournament, he would have thrashed, but It was 15 days. Towards your point at the beginning, though, we've got more people. Enho feeds off of crowds.
True.
So a combination of a lower rank and maybe that fan backing is going to see a rebound. I have a hope for, I'm not going to say this is my final hope for Enho, but if there was ever an opportunity for a rebound, it's with Hakuho back, got a crowd, and likely a lot of the people who would give him trouble are a little high up and have their own things to worry about. And not him. So now is his time to get that winning score.
This is a crucial tournament for him to show.
Yes.
If he falls again, he's running into possible demotion depending on how people do. I mean, some people can get demoted. Shohozan, I think, was higher up. He got demoted. I think he was in that general area and got demoted. I do think, to your point about Hakuho being back matters, because Enho had no one to train with last tournament. He had no Ishiura, and he had no Hakuho, and he's got to train harder than everybody. He's got the hardest job in sumo, as far as I'm concerned, because he's got to be super smart, know all the angles, got to be able to practice them, but he's also so small. He doesn't have any bulk that he can be just tossed aside if he isn't perfect. Not having your best training partners... Yeah, you're set up to fail with that. So, I will give him the edge on that. Maybe that makes a difference. Certainly, I want to be as optimistic as you. I hope you are right and I am wrong.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, if under this circumstance he gets a Makakoshi, he's got to figure something out, because this is basically spoon-fed to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can't do this, then maybe you and Ishiura can go on a Juryo tour.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to see that.
I don't
we had
want
to
to
wait so
see
long
it.
for Enho to come up, and he gave us everything we wanted. So I'm not rooting against him. I would love him to prove me wrong, but I think he needs a little bulk, honestly.
It may come to that.
Yeah, I think
now.
he just needs a little bit stronger. Not change everything about you, but just a little bit more strength. And I know one of his issues is, thanks to Chris Sumo, he doesn't like beef or something like that, or he doesn't like soup. He doesn't like soup. And that's what Chanko is. He doesn't like soup. He likes beef. The problem is if you're eating tons of protein and not tons of fat in sumo, you're never going to get any bigger. So he's going to have to figure out something to try to get a little bit bigger. But that's up to him, the sumo gods, the whole shebang. I wish him the best of luck. The next guy is Yu Takayama, Maegashira 12 East, down from Maegashira 4 East. 2, 6, and 7. Yu Takayama's got everything he needs to be competing with the best of them, but he's injured. I don't know how bad the injuries are. I think he got a fresh injury in his fight with Takakeisho, and that was another theme. Like, all of a sudden, Takakeisho would injure a guy, and the very next guy he had to fight was Asanoyama, and he would get,
Asanoyama got...
He got the freebie.
He got 2 freebies.
He got 2 freebies. I think Kiribayama was the other person Takakeisho ended up injuring. But I don't know how badly Yu Takayama's hurt. I have to assume that is the reason he's losing, because he's way too talented and way too strong and was looking very differently in years past. I'm wondering if he's somebody who needs a surgery to get better. And he hasn't gotten it because then you fall right out and you got to work back up. Something's not quite right with him. I hope that will change without him having to go significantly lower. Don't really know at this point.
Yu Takayama's sort of in the same boat as Enho for me mentally, in that we're hoping for the rebound. Like, with Enho, you're sort of wondering if all the spinning plates are falling down for him, but with Yu Takayama, he can.
Yeah.
It's just, can fate stop breaking his elbows for a minute so that he can get his 8 wins and keep that going in?
Yeah.
So it seems to be an easier bet on Yu Takayama if he's healthy, that he'll be on the way back up, and then hoping that the calf injury he has isn't going to put him into Juryo.
Right, this could be a situation where he has to stay out this tournament and he's automatically in Juryo in January. He's been down to Juryo with an injury not long ago. Maybe he's comfortable doing that and will sit out the tournament just to rest. Maybe he'll fight through. He's another Ikioi in the making. Because he's super taped up, but he fights. He fights hard. So, good luck. I hope it works out. Kaisei, Maegashira 12 West. Remains Maegashira 12 West. I don't see that very often.
No, not with a losing score. He got lucky.
7 and 8. Kaisei's had some neck issues. We'll see what he does, but I don't see him doing much better than 8 and 7 or 9 and 6.
He's at the end of his rope, it seems, which he's a darling.
He's a darling, I agree.
I love him, but I don't know. He needs that little spin or something in order to stay out of this the tumble zone here.
He's in that category of like the Ichinojos and the Tochinoshins, like that era where all these big guys were fighting each other. And they're slowly getting phased out by all these like middle of the road, like, you know, the Kiribayamas and Wakatakakages. It doesn't seem like there's anywhere for Kaisei to go, but right where he's at.
Yeah.
Like, hold on for dear life.
Clutch onto the edge of the cliff.
Impressively, you kept the same rank. So,
hey,
kudos.
Maybe that's a sign of things to come.
Maybe. The next is one of our rising stars, Hoshoryu. He is Maegashira 13 East, up from Maegashira 16 West. 8 and 7. Had to be a very nerve-wracking tournament. First of all, Asa Shoryu was there like multiple days. Saw him sitting there talking with all his buddies. And Hoshoryu was making comments at the end like, I don't know about what Uncle thought today. He's got to be under the most pressure out of anybody. It's a different pressure. Like, Asanayama, Japan wants me. Hoshoryu, your uncle's staring at you like, I'm gonna beat you later.
I'll beat your ass.
Asa Shoryu, Mr. Bad Guy Sumo. And Hoshoryu doesn't seem to have that edge, like, I'm a bad guy. It's like, I would think Terutsuyoshi was more of, you know, Asa Shoryu's relative, you know? He seems kind of genuine and like, oh, I'm really happy to be here. So, yeah, I think he'll keep rising. He's strong. He's got the backing.
Yeah.
He'll be there, but he might be a slow climber too.
This tournament's going to be important for Hoshoryu, at least in terms of impressions, because he's cut his teeth now. He's in it.
Yep.
And now he got that 8th win on the last day, which was definitely not what he wanted.
Nah.
But now that he's here, he's up enough rungs that he can get a losing score.
Which means he can try some things.
He can try some, but most importantly, like, he's gotten that first day done, you know.
Yeah.
He's gone to the new school. He survived the first day of classes. Now the tournament begins for him.
Agreed.
You feel. So, will he still be just a nervous ball of energy until he's Sanyaku? Maybe that's just, he's nervous guy. Maybe that's gonna be what he is. Not sure, but I can't help but feel it's gonna be a lot less pressure on him now that the first is out of the way.
Yeah, and that could certainly make a big difference. I'd love to see him sort of get in there and be in these important matches and, you know, mess around, and everybody's like, oh, another guy we gotta worry about? Come on, be that guy. The next is Ichinojo, Maegashira 13 West, up from Maegashira 17 East. He did not win the tournament. A shame.
Breaking the record, Ichinojo.
Breaking the record. Come on. But, you know, Snorlax is like that, you know?
Yeah.
He seemed to be showing a little bit of variety in his moves. You know, he wasn't a one-hit wonder. 8 and 7. Ichinojo's a huge guy. And he is somebody I always want to see because he's that character guy. He's so big and he's capable of so much, and I never want him to leave. But I don't think we're ever going to see much from him. I think the best we're ever going to see, excuse me, the best we're ever going to see from Ichinojo is when he was 1 win away from tying the tournament and he didn't get to fight Hakuho.
Oh, so good. I think I would like to think that moment will happen again. Now, his 8 and 7, he also got the last win on the final day. It's kind of interesting seeing Hoshoryu and Ichinojo right next to each other.
Yeah.
Because Hoshoryu, like, you can almost feel like he was just being crushed by the weight of all the pressure, and you can almost ask Ichinojo to feel a little more pressure so you can do a little bit more. It's this weird sort of opposites. That being said, you can't help but feel that not being on the edge of demotion is going to do well for him as well as Hoshoryu. And if we can get Ichinojo a little bit more forward momentum.
Yeah, he needs that.
Not only that, but he'd be a great foil for some of those mid to high ranking matches in the same way that we want all these other lower ranked people to sort of just start throwing some
messing some stuff
up. Throw a wrench in the works.
He could barrel over people when he's going forward.
You
saw it. Just run a guy right out of the ring. He's so big. But I think he's got back issues. And then The motivation issues, I don't know if they're a tiredness thing or mental lapses. I don't know with him. But, you don't know which Ichinojo you're going to get. Everybody knows that. That's just been his sumo shtick this whole time. And he had one tournament where he was consistent. He's capable of it any time. Just, what are we going to say?
Okay.
So the next is, this is a celebration for me. Chiyo no Kuni is finally back. I believe it's been, 2 years. 2 or 3 years since he was in the upper ranks and got knocked all the way down because of repeated injuries. There was one injury, and then there was another injury. It required surgery. So he's another one of these guys that went down pretty low and had to fight his way back up. And he's back. I have missed him. I've been watching his status, hoping for his return, and it has finally come. He is from... He won the Juryo Basho, 14-1, which shows you... he's got some pep back.
Yeah.
What I saw a highlight. I didn't watch the video, but Chris Yumo said something about Chiyo no Kuni's knee only being 60%. That's terrifying because he hasn't been in the upper ranks for a long time now. He's finally making his debut. I hope he's cautious. I hope he just fights in that spot where he's at and doesn't get too ambitious. Take advantage of the Maegashira 14 East to sort of dip your toe in the water, get back into it. I think he's a guy who puts a lot of pressure on himself to win and everything else because of the famous stable that he's in. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm cautiously optimistic that he'll just kind of stay 8-7, do what he's got to do, and try not to get injured. Just see if he can get a little more time to heal up.
He's got a win-win for me, I say, because he's been here before, so he knows what this is about.
Knows a lot of these guys.
He knows a lot of these guys. A lot of the new people may not know much about him. Also, he's coming in from the Juryo tournament winner, which is, that's momentum going forward, a lot of momentum coming into this. And even if he starts losing and he falls back down to Juryo, he knows I can get back. So, knee notwithstanding, I think that he'll come in, he'll make a good statement. We'll see that he's still strong. Maybe it'll take him a little longer until he's at full strength with that 60% knee. That being said, I'm expecting him to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, if all goes well, he's going to compete well. He's probably met some of these young guys in his way up.
Yeah.
I don't know how often he fought them, but he might have a pretty good idea of most of these guys, I would hope. Okay, the very next is Kota no Waka. Finally back up from Juryo. It's been a couple of tournaments, I think. 9-6. Decent record. I expect him to suffice. 7-8, 8-7. I'm not expecting much. There's just too many tough guys. Hopefully he's focused and, one bout at a time, that whole mindset. Because there's just a lot of ambitions in this tournament, and I think he should just keep it simple.
People like Kota no Waka, who are on the way back, they're like, I'm going to pick up where I left off. It's going to be an interesting playoff against people like Ryuden, Enho, who are sort of slipping on the way down, and they need to claw their way back up. This is going to be where the flips start to happen. If Kota no Waka is able to keep his forward momentum, and then you have, we're about to talk about Chiyotairyu, but people like that are slipping, that they can't get their footing back, then that's going to be sort of where we have the bottom end of Maegashira, and we need to make sacrifices to the Juryo gods now. So, will Kota no Waka be a sacrifice, or is he going to make someone else?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because you've got the battle at the top, but you got the battle at the bottom. That's basically what you've brought up at this point. A lot of these guys have got to turn their tournaments around, and some of these guys are freshly up. And like you said, is there going to be a flip? These guys are going to keep falling and we're going to keep rising? Or is everybody going to be put in their place? And is Kota no Waka a stepping stone for someone? Or is he the guy that pushes through and say, hey, I'm young and fresh and I'm going to do my thing, This is going to be an interesting part of the lineup to pay attention to. Our very next guy is Chiyo Tairyu, who he's down to Maegashira 15 East from Maegashira 11 East. He was looking really good for a while. He lost a lot of weight, which I noticed immediately. I looked at him like, whoa, where's the rotund stomach? It's gone. And he was talking about how much better he felt being a little less weight. And he seemed to have a little bit more oomph when he had that strong tachi-ai that he always has, but he had a little bit more speed and a little bit more energy. He got injured towards the end, so I don't know if that's going to be a chronic injury, if it was just a minor thing. I think those easily could have been wins. If he wasn't injured, he would have gone 7 and 8. I think we just got to kind of keep our eye on him and see what develops from here.
His is a curious case because here's somebody who's going through and making the improvements, and then he's still losing. Now, how much of that was the injury? How much of that was just September being a bloodbath? Not sure. But the thing is that before Chiyo Tairyu, he sort of had the cushion to sort of get adopted to his new ways, and now he doesn't have the cushion. So he definitely looks better. It sounds like he feels better, but unfortunately now he needs to be better, or he's going to be in Juryo, which is going to be doubly bad because he's fun to watch.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites, and he's the only one that I can recall that wears a pink mawashi, the cherry blossom color specifically. So he really stands out. And he's got that powerful tachi-ai, and once again, the Yokozunas like to practice with him because they want the strongest, hardest tachi-ai that they can face and see what they're going to do with it. So he's a respected guy. He's doing his thing, and I hope like the weight loss eventually leads to gains because I'm assuming that was intentional to make a change in the sumo.
This is where now that we're in the 14s to 15s, you're like, I'm looking at almost the entire list outside of a couple people, and I'm like, all these people, they're stick around. And you're like, statistically, that ain't the case, buddy. Someone's gonna have to take a trip. And it's just, I'm looking at Kota Nowaka, I'm like, are you going back down? I'm looking at Chiyo Tairyu, I'm like, I want to see the results of what you were looking like was going on. And then you're just like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, and I think there's a lot of people rooting for him. Our next guy is Koto Yuki. He's up from Juryo 2 East. He's been going up and down for a while now. He's Mr. Claw Hands because his fingers are always broken. It looks like he got a surgery, and so there's a chance he's not even going to be in this tournament. I have no idea. I think we'll find out day one, likely. Yeah,
So, Koto Yuki is fun, partially because he's good at push sumo. Also, when somebody pushes him out of the ring, he goes flying. Now,
people.
He did this back when there were people to crush.
True.
So I was secretly hoping for him to come back, so I get to see him get pushed back, and then he runs 100 meters from the momentum because he did that. He would whenever he left the ring, he would just go flying. Not that I was rooting for him to lose, because he was actually really good at push sumo and had a couple tricks up his sleeve from being a veteran. But now that he's back, I'm sort of like, yay, we get to see the crazy claw hand man again. And now it's just like knee surgery. Oh,
don't you love seeing that?
But good that you got the knee surgery. Take care of your body.
Longevity in life after sumo.
Yes.
Do you want to have destroyed knees?
Yes. It's like, this is the best reason for him to underperform, is because he's like, I would like my knees to not be terrible.
Yeah. Someday I'm going to be an old person. And I'd like to be able to walk. Next is Chiyo Shoma. He's been away for a long time now. I think it's been years. He's been just hanging out in Juryo. It's not like he got demoted very far, but he just couldn't quite. Between all the young new guys who were just pushing their way up and just, him having regular records, 8-7 records, that kind of thing. He's finally back. He had a 9-6. I don't expect much from him, but I could be totally wrong.
This, basically my exact thoughts is, back when he was in the upper division, he was sort of around here, good enough to sort of punish people who are sloppy, but also not really making moves himself. It's been long enough that maybe he's picked up some new tricks. Maybe there's something else going on. Maybe he's revitalized, or maybe he just got to the top of the attrition.
Yeah.
I don't know. Keep an eye out. Let's see what he does.
But a big question mark.
Big old question mark. Big old, let's see what you've got.
Yeah, no matter what, it makes it interesting to see new old faces. The next is Aqua. He's like a Tobizaru. He's been hanging around in Juryo for years. He's finally pushed through. He had a 10-5 last time. This is his top division debut, which means he's either going to be right back in Juryo or he's going to win the tournament.
Correct.
Please show us something.
Yeah,
Make it exciting.
From my brief research, he seems to be a pusher thruster. He seems to be a bigger guy. So he's in that sort of a lot of weight getting thrown around kind of category. He is in a prime position to win the tournament.
Yes, he is.
Nobody knows anything about him. Nobody knows anything about him.
Except maybe Tobizaru.
Okay, well, Tobizaru. But like, newcomer, low rank, come out of nowhere and just take everything.
Yeah.
Like for Aqua, it is victory or death.
Yeah, pretty much. We gotta keep having these top division debuts so that we can have foils all around.
Yep. It is interesting because last tournament there were like 4 or 5 new people. In this one, it's just Aqua, and he's sort of a veteran, so it's not like he's a new face. A lot of the people in this lower Mega Shear division probably know some of his deals. I don't know his deal. I'd like to know his deal.
Yeah, I know none
Aqua,
of his deal.
sing me the song of your people.
Absolutely. We look forward to seeing you. Hopefully NHK does, your very first match and makes it a special thing. Our final guy is Shimano Umi, Megashire 17, down from Megashire 15 East, 6 and 9. I think he's headed to Juryo.
I looked at his score and I'm like, oh man, he just spared.
Yeah, he got spared.
So Shimano Umi's got to think, I gotta get it together, man.
I mean, maybe you can beat up Chiyoshima, beat up Chiyo Tairyu.
Yeah, he's
Koto get a free win if Kotoyuki starts the tournament. I see him spiraling in a way that he's not gonna get out of. Simply also because of where he's at. Like if he was higher up, I wouldn't necessarily say that. He's on the bottom rung and he hasn't looked too good. So I think some of these Juryo guys who I'm going to mention briefly might want to be taking the spot. So
maybe. We'll see.
Shimano,
now's the time to make your pact with Satan for better sumo.
Yeah, or else you're going to go right down. So we're going to talk just briefly about some notables down to Juryo, and then we're going to do our predictions because that's really fun. So Shohozan, Ishiura, Koto Shogiku, and Abi are all down in Juryo. I will give my sense on all 4, and then I will let you do your sense on all 4. Shohozan's one of my favorites. He didn't look injured. He looked the same as always, but the power was not there. I don't know what was going on. Maybe he really has lost a step. It seemed kind of out of nowhere. He was saying things like, I should be winning these matches. So I don't know if he was lying or if just something weird happened. It was a bad tournament. If it was just a bad tournament, he'll be back. He'll be back real quick. Ishiura, I give him a hard time all the time. He was injured, and he did come back and try very hard to stay in, and he did win his first match. So, the effort's in there. He'll be back, if not next tournament, the tournament after that. I don't think he'll stay in Juryo long. But he's got to get it together. He's like Enho. He's a little stronger than Enho, and I think he should be performing better. But he's got to want it. Koto Shogiku, this was the big question. If he got demoted to Juryo, would he retire? He was very, very close to having a good tournament, and then he got injured. And it's just, what can you do? He's an older guy. I know he's going for some records, and it seems like he's not ready to quit yet. So keep an eye on him. This could be a do-or-die tournament for him. Could be the end. Could be the start of going right back to where he was. And then finally, Abi. Is that... It's 2 turns?
Second tournament sitting out.
So how many tournaments does he have to sit out?
Actually, he may be back after this one.
Yeah, is this
Yeah.
the last one he
Yeah.
has to sit out?
Yep, this is the last one he has to sit out.
So there's nothing to say about Abi besides I hope you are training and you've learned your lesson. And, you know, I don't know if what happened to him was fair or not because there's all kinds of stuff I've heard. I just hope he turns into a positive experience, comes back, gets back into Sanyaku, and we forget it ever happened. John, your opinions?
With Shohozan, I'm looking more at this as to whether or not they'll be back. For Shohozan, if he's back next tournament, then what he said was true, and that he just had a bad tournament, and things weren't clicking for him. If he doesn't come back, and he sort of wallows in Juryo, then maybe this is the last we've seen of Shohozan in terms of top division. So I'd like to see him back. He's just so much fun. And really, like, in terms of the way I'm looking at this, either he's back next tournament like it never happened, or thank you for the memories.
Yeah, see you later.
Ishihara I have no read on him. He's had these moments that he just sort of needed to regroup. Maybe Juryo's just going to be the timeout that he needs in order to regroup. He's still got years of sumo left in him. Maybe he had the same issues that Hakuho and Enho had, that they all need each other.
Yeah.
So maybe Ishihara being there is going to be as useful, if not more useful, for Hakuho and Enho, in which case then maybe he'll be back soon. I imagine he will be back eventually. It's just, I don't know if it's going to be 2 months or 2 years.
Sure.
Koto Shogiku, I would agree. If he does well this tournament, then he'll be back. If he doesn't do well this tournament, he will be gone. So keep an eye on him. Maybe he'll hold out to the bitter end. I don't know. It seemed that everybody was saying this is the last we're going to see of Koto Shogiku. It's a bit of a surprise. He stuck around again. I think he needs to prove something to himself, if not to anyone else.
Yeah.
So this is going to be his tournament to work out whatever his kinks are. Similar to, where with Shohozan, either we're going to see him again or we're not going to see him again. Shohozan, I can see him like hanging out in Juryo for another year before he finally hangs it out. I think Koto Shogiku, it's going to be binary. Either he's back in the top division next tournament or he's gone. Yeah. And for Abi, I think he's mid to low Juryo right now. So he's taking up a Juryo slot, but he's still not there, which means that when his suspension is lifted, he will be in Makushita, which was the intent all along, which kind of begs the question, if you were just going to put him in Makushita, why couldn't you just free up the Juryo slot? But that is neither here nor there and has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a whole sumo society.
So that is the brief little look into Juryo.
Now it is prediction time. All right, well, this is tough. Obviously, it's always tough.
Mm-hmm.
I find it hard to bet against Hakuho. I think there's one of two scenarios. Hakuho goes on a tear, 15-0, 14-1, because he has one hiccup. Maybe 13-2 with 2 hiccups, wins the tournament. The other scenario is Hakuho gets in there and he's just not what he thinks he's going to be, gets completely shocked, is out on day 3, and then everybody's fighting for it. In that scenario, I'm going to go against what I said last tournament and say Taka Keisho could win the title this time. I was very down on him the last tournament because his physical conditioning was not there. He is always a toss-up, but because he's always a toss-up, I think he always does have the ability to win the tournament. So I'm going to say it's either Hakuho, mowing people down, or Hakuho is out on day 3, and Taka Keisho finally takes his second tournament.
I think for this one it is, yes, Hakuho is going to win it, but what if he doesn't, in fact, who do you think is going to win the tournament? Smart money's on Hakuho. Really, the question is, how many times does Hakuho lose? Is it going to be 0 or 1? And now, so I would say Hakuho is going to win it. If he doesn't, I don't see the trophy leaving Sanyaku. It is going to be an Ozeki, a Sekiwaki, or a Kamasubi. Because looking at that top chunk, all 3 of those Ozekis, all of the Ozekis have been saying, we need an Ozeki to win the cup.
Forever.
A sitting Ozeki has not won the tournament in a long time. And I think all 3 of these people, that would be sort of the underline on their story if one of them gets it. Then you look at Mitakeumi, Takanosho, Terunofuji, and Takayasu. Takayasu wins the cup? Tell me that's not the
That needs to happen.
That would be the pinnacle of his rise. This isn't to say he needs to do it now.
No.
But he needs, like,
He needs to win.
I can't help but feel that drive is keeping him alive in this tournament. Just in Zumo. And then you have Terunofuji. He wants that second cup again. He wants nothing but Ozeki. So he's on hungry for it. Takanosho. He's now the dark horse.
Yep.
Not really. I don't want to. Okay, you're not the dark horse. The last time I called somebody a dark horse who's going to win a tournament, they were 5-10. Takanosho, no one's paying attention to you. Still win. But still, he's in it as much as everybody. And again, in the tides of chaos, Mitakeumi Yumi comes to take the cup.
He's got 2.
He's got 2.
He can easily win 3, go on an Ozeki run, and just get knocked back down.
Yes. So I think every single person from Yokozuna to Kamasubi has a compelling reason to win the cup.
And an interesting note is that Shodai, Asanoyama, and Takakeisho all won the cup before they were Ozeki.
Yes.
So they each have one, then became Ozeki. So they're due.
They're due. But Hako's going to win. But if they doesn't, this is going to not be the Cinderella story. That being said, Aqua, still your mom.
Yeah, Aqua, come on.
Aqua, let's go.
Let's keep it going.
2020.
Beat Hakuho by throwing him out of the ring.
Can you imagine? I can imagine.
How are people going to follow the code rules then? If Hakuho throws Hakuho out, I think hell's good.
So, yes. So, the smart money is on Hakuho. I would say if for some reason Hakuho doesn't get it, it's not gonna be anyone Megashira. Yeah. It's gonna be the top group.
Well, this has been fun, John.
Yes.
Stay tuned, folks. We will have something after the tournament. Enjoy this wonderful ride that starts next Sunday.
Thank you for listening. Until next time.
Peace out.